Hi, I'm Brad Sugars and welcome to Business Basics. Today we're actually going to broach a subject that's one of my favourites. It's goal setting. How do we actually go about making sure that these goals are in play? You know, one of the things about it is the human brain is set up in a way that when you set a goal, it's designed to help you. It's a simple thing called the reticular activating system, and, well, we're going to oversimplify what it actually does just for the sake of learning and understanding, but in essence, it's imagine, well, you say you went and bought a new car. You went out, you bought that car, and all of a sudden, amazingly enough, what did you spot across the road everywhere you go? Same car. That's kind of the basic idea of what the reticular activating system will do. Or, for example, imagine you set a goal and all of a sudden, because you'd set that goal, magically all these different people appeared to help you with your goal. All these different people appeared to get the results that you're after. See, the thing about it is, and I'll give you an example from my own life. I remember years ago I had a dog food business. Now, when I went into the dog food business, I'd never really watched and looked for dogs, but amazingly enough, the day I had a dog food business, guess what I started seeing everywhere around the place? There were dogs everywhere. And luckily enough, I saw a lot of big dogs as well, because they eat a lot more of the food. But the thing about setting goals, and we're going to go through the 3 different types of goals that there are for people. So when we're setting goals, oftentimes people move from, well, let's get them out first on the table. The first type of goal is what's called a negative goal. In other words, it's a move away from goal. It's the kind of goal you set where I don't want to be broke, I don't want to be sick, I don't want to have this problem. It's a negative goal of getting out of a negative situation. Now, you can imagine these goals are fairly weak. Why? Because once you're out of the negative, the goal is gone. There's nowhere further for you to go. You've moved away from whatever it was, and again, even moving away from it is not that big a deal because, well, let's say imagine that some people's threshold for accepting things is different to others. Example, maybe you want to move away from being poor. Maybe you want to move away from not having enough cash. And what is enough cash? What is not poor? It's a different definition for everybody. That moving away from goal is generally fairly weak and won't get too far in life. However, they definitely serve their purpose at the time when you need them. So make sure if you do have them, you work on them and you work hard, but you take it to step 2. Stage 2 of goal setting is when we move to positive goal setting. Now what we're actually doing is doing a positive goal setting, things for ourselves that we really want to have in our life. They can be things, they can be experiences, they can be personal traits that you want to develop. You know, goals that you set for yourself. And it might, let's for example say it's a new car. You set that positive goal of moving towards something as a new car. It's not just get out of the bad car, it's get into a good car. That's the aim of the game. That's what we're really looking for. So here we are sitting there with that positive goal. Now these positive goals will serve you quite well. In fact, they'll be the medium-term goals in life. In fact, they're very solid goals. In most cases, they motivate us and move us forward at a rapid rate of knots. The more of them we have, obviously, the faster we move and the more we move. The bigger they are, obviously, the more we've got to challenge ourselves to achieve those things. Now, if you don't have those goals written down, it's going to be fairly difficult for you to experience all the things it is that you want to experience in life. If you don't have those goals documented somewhere, see, if I was to sit down and give you a score, imagine you're in the school and the class was, okay, how did I do on goal setting class? So if I came and took a look at your goals and said, all right, where are your goals? Because this is the life classes, gang. This isn't the classes you take at school to get a job. This is the classes you take to succeed in life. If I looked at your goals and said, all right, out of 10, I'll give you a score of this. Now, if you don't have them written down, then obviously you score 0. You know, so we need to invest the time to document, to write down our goals, even to get pictures of them available, even to get some sort of an experience that helps you know what it is the goal that you're after. The more clarity you have around the goal, the more chance of it coming. Then we move on to the 3rd stage of goal setting. The 3rd stage of goal setting is where we actually move to goals that are outside of ourselves. So, for example, you might have a goal of helping end cancer. You might have a goal of doing good things for your community. You might have a goal of taking care of your church. Whatever the goals are, they now become about other people, not just about you. Generally, these goals will be rather large. Generally, they'll be quite massive. Therefore, you have to challenge yourself to the nth degree. I find a lot of people that stagnate in life have either not moved up the goal-setting trail, or they're stuck with no knowledge of how to move up the goal-setting trail, one or the other. Now, if we take a look at moving to this ultimate goal, if you've gotten away from the negatives and life's okay, and you haven't set positive goals, then your moving will slow down. If you've set positive goals and achieved many of them, life will slow down. It's going to be that way. So if you find yourself ever in a stagnant moment, if you find yourself ever not moving forward, then you've really got to take a look at the goal-setting aspect of your life and start setting bigger goals and better goals. Goals that are not just about you, goals that become about your community, about your friends, about your family. The bigger the goal, obviously, the better the challenge. You know, a wise man said to me one time, he said, you know, you'll never be bigger than your competition. So what is your competition? Is your competition to end world hunger? Or is your competition just to pay the bill at the end of the week? You know, is your competition in business the other competitors in your industry? Or is it to be the best in the world in your industry? You know, this is an interesting challenge. Do you challenge yourself against the benchmark of the best in the world? Or do you challenge yourself against the benchmark of better than you did last week? Better than your nearest competitor? Better than the person just down the street? My aim in life in helping you set goals is help you, A, achieve some clarity around it. Make sure you get really clear on your goals. You know, a lot of people can tell me what they don't want. Let's flip it over and understand. Goal setting isn't about what you don't want. Goal setting is about what you do want. Now, if you're struggling with this, I'm going to give you a couple of solutions. Firstly, write down what you don't want and then think of the opposite. Okay, that's the way you can set a goal. So if you come up with a list and the list says, I don't want to be driving my old car. Great. Opposite of that, I do want to be driving, and that's way starting to set goals. A second way to do it might be to just grab some magazines. Start flicking through some magazines and start looking at things that you actually get enjoyment from, things you like. You know, what are the things that you're after? We're not talking about defining the goal of your life. All we're talking about is getting started somewhere. So make sure you take a look at it. Make sure you take a look at how your goals are written down and how they're documented. I remember the first time I was ever taught the story of goal setting, and you know, it was a simple story about the class of 1975, 1950, 1975, 25%, and so on. And it's all of these numbers, but the essence of the story is really simple. That those who had written goals amassed the majority of the wealth of the entire group. Those with written goals, which generally is only a very small percentage of people. If you're one of those people that has written goals, you'll succeed far more in life. It'll amaze you just how powerful it is to put it down and document it. So, get out pen and paper, start documenting. What are your goals for the next 90 days, for the next year, for the next 3 years? Let's get our goals down on paper, and that way they'll start to have an effect. That way, the reticular activating system in your brain can kick in, and like the compass or the goals that are out there, it'll start guiding you in the right direction and help you meet all the right people and find all the right tools to get you to where you want to go. I'm Brad Sugars, and this is Business Basics.